Hello, my name is Nafiz Ahsan Arpan, and today I will be presenting examining learning theories in practice. This presentation is based on my real teaching experience as a grammar instructor working with adult learners in Bangladesh, particularly in mixed urban and rural contexts. These classes usually have around 20 to 25 students and include both in-person and online teaching environments, including UNDP supported sessions. The goal of this presentation is not just talk about learning theories in abstract terms, but to critically examine how teaching methods, classroom interactions, and assessment practices actually influence student learning and motivation in real classrooms. Here is a brief overview of what I will cover today. First, I will analyze a teaching method that I currently use, which combines inductive and task-based grammar instruction. I will discuss both its strengths and its limitations. Second, I will explain how teacher-student classroom interactions influence student motivation using a personal classroom example. Third, I will evaluate a quiz-based assessment approach that I have observed and used, focusing on its impact on student engagement and academic performance. Finally, I will analyze assessment practices through learning theories and propose practical theory-based improvements that are realistic for my teaching context in Bangladesh. The main teaching method I use is inductive and task-based grammar instruction. Instead of starting with grammar rules, students discover rules through communicative tasks. For example, when teaching the past perfect tense, I ask students to share personal travel stories where one action happened before another. Through discussion and examples, they gradually identify the grammar structures themselves. One major strength of this method is that it builds communication skills. Students are not memorizing isolated rules, they are using grammar in real conversations. And this is especially effective in mixed urban rural classes where students bring diverse life experiences into the classroom. Another strength is engagement. Because students talk about their own lives, the classroom atmosphere becomes friendly and inclusive. However, there are limitations. In online UNDP sessions, the internet disruptions often break the flow of tasks. Irregular attendance, especially among rural areas, also interrupts grammar sequencing. At times, there is content overload, and managing multiple tasks can cause me to lose instructional focus. Teacher-student interaction plays a crucial role in student motivation, and I have seen this very clearly in my classes. One strategy I frequently use is personal storytelling. For example, I once shared a story about my school teacher's brainstorming boxes technique to explain how ideas can be organized before writing, which is very helpful. Later, during an exam, one student told me that your fun story helped me to recall the structure well. The kind of interaction builds trust. Students feel that their teacher is human, approachable, and invested in their learning. Storytelling also creates emotional connections to abstract grammar concepts, which improves retention. As a result, students participate more willingly, share their own examples, and show higher recall during exams. Motivation increases not because of pressure, but because learning feels meaningful and relatable. The primary assessment method I have observed and used is weekly quiz-based assessment. These quizzes usually include 20 multiple choice questions and 5 sentence completion items covering grammar topics like tenses, conditionals, and modals. On the positive side, quizzes provide structure and familiarity. Students know what to expect and some feel secure because the format is predictable. However, there are significant concerns. I observed a consistent 25-point performance gap between urban and rural students. The quiz format favors memorization rather than communication, which is actually the main goal of grammar learning. Most importantly, these quizzes fail to assess speaking and writing skills. As a result, students who can communicate well may still score poorly, while others memorize rules without truly understanding how to use them. When I analyze this assessment approach through learning theories, several issues become clear. From a behaviorist perspective, quizzes reward correct answers, but they ignore the learning process. Memorizing rules does not necessarily mean mastering grammar. From a constructive perspective, the quizzes lack social interaction. There is no peer collaboration, no scaffolding, and no use of students' zone of proximal development. From a self determination perspective, quizzes rely heavily on external pressure such as grades and fear of failure. This reduces intrinsic motivation and makes grammar learning feel stressful rather than engaging. Overall, the current assessment method does not align well with how students actually learn language. Based on learning theories, I propose three practical improvements. First is portfolio based assessment, aligned with constructivism. Students complete weekly speaking or writing tasks and receive peer feedback. Rural students can submit audio recordings instead of written work. Second is scaffolded quizzes based on the zone of proximal development. Sentence starters and guided prompts support weaker students while difficulty increases gradually over 4 weeks. Third is gamified progress tracking, grounded in self determination theory. Students earn Grammar Quest badges for improvement, not perfection. This shifts focus from grades to growth. These changes are realistic, low cost, and suitable for adult learners in Bangladesh. Here is how this would work in practice over 4 weeks. In week one, students take a baseline quiz and are introduced to portfolio tasks. In week two, they complete task based speaking activities which are recorded. In week three, peer review is introduced along with scaffolded quizzes. In week four, students review progress through gamified tracking and reflect on their learning. Expected outcomes include reducing the urban rural score gap by 40%, increasing rural attendance from 60 to 85%, and shifting learning from memorization to communication mastery. To conclude, inductive and task based teaching is highly effective for communication but requires structure and consistency. Teacher student interaction, especially storytelling, plays a powerful role in motivation and retention. Quiz based assessments, while convenient, often widen learning gaps and fail to measure real language ability. By integrating portfolios, scaffolding, and gamification, assessment can become more meaningful, supportive, and equitable for all learners. All ideas presented here are supported by established learning theories and academic sources listed on the slide, including work on motivation, behaviorism, constructivism, and social learning. Thank you for listening.